I write.
Hello, good morning to everyone. I see some folks are coming in. Good morning, and I want to welcome you to this joint presentation with Preventative Measures based here in the Bahamas with our partner, Blockchain Intelligence Group. We're excited to have you on board as we take a trip down this cryptocurrency road to learn more about how, not so much how to investigate and monitor and track this new form of currency. We all will be familiar with the recent stories that have been making the news with various exchanges and entities, and as financial experts, investigators, just persons who may just have an interest in what's going on, we want to be able to be better prepared in the event that we are become victims or have to assist victims in monitoring and tracking and investigating nefarious activity. I'm happy to have with us our Director of Government Affairs and Strategic Affairs for Blockchain, William Callahan. He is going to lead this discussion. And certainly, if questions, please feel free to drop them into the chat, and we will save them for the end, and hopefully we can address all of your questions. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to William. Bill Callahan, welcome, and thank you for joining us here on this event.
Thank you, Gamal. I would start off by asking everybody in the audience, how are you doing? But as I understand, Gamal, you are all in paradise. I am up here in the Northeast, freezing. So I'm not going to ask you how you're doing today. Okay?
We could speak to the IT, right? So the point.
Can I ask everybody to mute their?
Check your mics, please.
You have to make the adjustment for IT for sure.
That's Ms. Bodie, please. I'm gonna have to mute you. Good. Please check your mics. Make sure we're not picking up any of your business conversations. All right, so go ahead, Bill.
Great, thank you again, Gamal. So good morning, everybody. As I said, as Gamal said, my name is Bill Callahan. I'm the Director of Government and Strategic Affairs for Blockchain Intelligence Group. In my prior life, I was with the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, where I did a lot of financial investigations, financial crimes, narcotic money laundering, it involved crypto. When I retired, I came over to this company called Blockchain Intelligence Group, which Gamal is a partner with here, Preventative Measures. And I'm going to show you a little bit about what we do. To start off, I will also, so I'm going to talk a little crypto, what's happening in the world today. I have a large presentation. We probably won't get through all of it, which is fine. I put all the slides in here, and then I try to see what the audience wants to know and hear about. As I mentioned previously, I know all of you are there in paradise, and hopefully one day, can't wait to meet you in person. I'm up here in the Northeast where we have a pretty cold day, but we'll plow through this here. So the first thing, look, one of the things, the way I start this is just to kind of simplify it. And you know, for these kind of webinars, I know I have a diverse audience, and some people may be very, very familiar with crypto and DeFi and other things and NFTs. Because it's a large audience, I'll probably keep things at a basic level here today, but I'll talk about some resources to learn more. I also want to, in advance, apologize. I had to have somebody come in and do some work. So I don't think you're hearing the noise, but if you do, I apologize in advance for that. There's a little bit of noise outside where I'm delivering this from. Anyway, cryptocurrency, your question is, okay, what is it, right? And sometimes I start this presentation off a little differently, but I just want you to think about it. It's a peer-to-peer finance. It's a way that you and I, Gamal and I, without using banks, we can exchange basically money, right? We can exchange value, decentralized finance, financial transactions without banks. That's what we talk about. And for the purpose of today, I'm pretty much going to be doing a lot of talking more about Bitcoin. I'll talk a little bit about Ethereum and some NFTs, but we probably will not go into any sort of, you know, token that's out there that has a specific purpose. We're talking about basically what is cryptocurrency today. And before I begin, I always like to start, or usually I finish, just a brief introduction. If you want, I try to post on LinkedIn almost every day, a topic related to crypto investigations, money laundering, fraud, scams. I try to keep it mix it up there. Please, that's my LinkedIn connection. If you want to connect with me, follow me, send me a connection request, that's fine. I'm also on Twitter. I don't use Twitter as much as I use LinkedIn. But if you are in the arena of anti-money laundering, fraud, scams, crypto investigations, please connect. As I said, I'll try to post something almost every day. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But I try to put some value out there, either in some sort of format or some sort of video that I'll put out. So that's that. The other thing I always encourage people, there is a chat feature, I believe, here. If you want to network, introduce yourself to each other in the chat. I always ask in my webinars that I have or training sessions, look, one thing that COVID took away from us was meeting in person, right? Where we got to meet in person. I treat these as if we were meeting in person. If we were there in person, I'd say hello, shake your hand, ask you what you do, get your business card or contact information. So please feel free to do that here as well. I think that there's some value in these types of webinars to do that with each other. Just a little bit background about Big Digital Assets. That's just an overview of our parent company, Big Digital Assets. We're sister company is Netcoins, which is an exchange in Canada, and now in, I believe, 7 or 8 U.S. states that we are an exchange, and then some other companies that it's invested in. It is a public company, as you can see from here as well. There's our mission statement here. Just to move some really, we want to bring security and accountability to cryptocurrency with our trusted data analysts and risk scoring capabilities for blockchain, Bitcoin, and other cryptocurrencies. We keep expanding the number of cryptocurrencies that we service. Our feature product is called Clue. If you are a financial investigator, tracking and tracing traditional finance, fiat currency, and if you haven't heard that, we'll talk about what that word is, right? You use different tools to do that, use subpoenas. As we're going to show you here with cryptocurrency, since on a public blockchain, you can pull in that information. We've created this tool called Clue, which if you are a financial investigator, I highly recommend you get in touch with Gamal for a demonstration of Clue. Clue tracks and traces, gives you a visualization of the financial movements of that coin or that token or that NFT as well. And then what enhances this is basically our behind the scenes, our research. So we're adding data, open source data, court data. We're making connections. So sanctions is a good example. We'll probably touch upon that. If an address is sanctioned, yes, that's an address, it's higher risk. But what is that address interacting with? And that's why, as a financial investigator or regulator, you'd use something like Clue. So for a demonstration, I definitely recommend you reach out to Gamal and do that. These are, as the latest, the coins and tokens that we support, which includes, I didn't get the last number, but I know it's probably over 500,000 ERC 720s, ERC, the Ethereum tokens that you'll see out there and what they support and smart contracts. But I said it supports the Ethereum blockchain. Okay, I'll talk what blockchain is. Recently, we just added Tron. That's something that just came out this week, which is one of the requests over the last couple of months. I've seen, I interact a lot with law enforcement agencies around the world, investigators, and they've been asking for Tron. So are you seeing every coin and token under the sun there? No. And you don't see that because, one, it takes some money to develop these coins and tokens and blockchains to track and trace. But we're focusing in on really honing in on, okay, what are the illicit actors using? Okay, what are I like to say the bad guys are using? And I always want to remember, bad guys need the same thing you and I need, right? When it comes to our finances, we need security, we need liquidity. When I need money, when I need to pay for the repairs being done to the house, I need to get that. I need to know it's there. And bad guys have to think the same way when they need to transport their drugs or buy weapons or whatever it may be. They need to do that. So those are the coins and tokens. That's what you'd find in Clue. Another product we have, BitRank Verified. If you are in a crypto exchange, a merchant, if you're handling cryptocurrency, you want to know what these transactions, you want to know what the risk of these transactions are, right? So this is an easy to understand transaction risk scoring to meet regulatory compliance and cryptocurrency, AML, KYC, and OFAC as well. So that's what that is. Hey, the other thing is, and if anything today, if I can motivate or inspire, I get a lot of people that come. Hopefully I kept that at a level that you don't walk away saying, oh, this was too much for me, I don't understand it. What I really hope to do is inspire you that you will take the next step as AML, as fin crime professionals, to seek out more training. And something we offer is called the Cryptocurrency Investigator Training Course. I'm sure Gamal will have something for you, but if you want some more information on that, Gamal can get out to you. This course is broken down into 5 modules, and basically it starts from what is cryptocurrency, how do you use it? Importantly, how does the bad guy use it? And then even more importantly, how does the good guys like us use it? And this is really what got me involved, because there wasn't this kind of training out there. When I was with DEA, we'd have somebody come and talk to us about it, but we didn't have this formalized training. And this really was good training. And now it's been taken by well over 1,000 or so investigators in the private sector and in the public sector. We have many law enforcement agencies taking this. Last night, it was just on a briefing on this with a major law enforcement agency in Asia, who's going to train up their folks, because it's a program that what we're doing is, yes, it's self-paced, it's online, and then to supplement that, we actually show you how to do it, so you get some hands-on experience as well. So that's the Certified Cryptocurrency Investigator Training Course. You can find more information at cryptoinvestigatortraining.com. And if you want to jot down or take a picture of this slide, Gamal has graciously offered a 10% discount on the CCI, as we call our community, the CCI community, on the CCI. But again, you can talk to him for more information. Please take a picture or write that promo code down. Keep that handy. And hopefully by the end of this, you will say to yourself that, yes, you want to learn more as an investigator, as an AML professional, compliance professional, how this works. All right. So I have this thing in the middle of the screen. I just have to keep moving. So sorry about that. The goals for today. Look, the goals for today, that's better. I want to provide some basic understanding of cryptocurrency, blockchain, maybe we'll talk a little distributed ledger technology. We might get into NFTs and some basic investigative techniques. We have about, 45 minutes together. I'll try to leave some time for some Q&A. Please use the chat box if you see something or hear something. I've told Gamal he's going to monitor that. If he needs to jump in, he'll jump in. If I use a term and out some terms or something you're not familiar with, I try not to do that. But if I slip up and I use a acronym or a term, throw it in there because I don't want to lose anybody as we go along with. That's the goals for today. As I said, my presentation has lots of slides. If we don't get to a section, that's fine. I look forward to coming back any day that Gamal invites me to Paradise. I look forward to that. So hopefully we'll meet in person one day real soon. Hey, so what is it, right? Well, virtual currency. If we all have starting to use that new Chat GPT, I think the most one of the most sought after questions is explain Bitcoin to my 85-year-old father, right? That's what people are putting in there. Look, virtual currency is a digital payment system. There's perception of elevated levels of confidentiality. We're going to talk about that. It is entrenched in both domestic and international commerce. Yes, it's used for illicit purposes. It's also used for non-illicit purposes. I have this in here as over 17,000 cryptocurrencies because of the volatility and some of the collapses, some of the new stuff. if you told me there's 20,000, you're right, I'm wrong. Okay, so there's a lot of cryptocurrencies out there. As I said, there's probably about 10, 15, 20. Yeah, I'm saying, I mean, in the 10, maybe even less than that, that are used on that day to day. Who can use that for international commerce there? So virtual currency is a digital representation of value that can be traded. And just like money, and I used the term before, fiat currency, and if that's the first time you heard the term fiat currency, I'm referring to the money that's basically in our wallet, in our pocket, right? The dollar bills that I carry. I don't mean to interrupt here, but if Tracy Knowles, if you can mute yourself, I appreciate that. I think you're unmuted. So digital currency is a representation of value, right? It's a unit of account. Now it's a store of value, but here's the difference, right? And again, I'm talking about cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin here. It doesn't have legal tender status. Okay. Now I'm not going to be talking today about central bank digital currencies. And of course, I probably should put an asterisk there, right? When I say it doesn't have legal tender status, if you're calling in from El Salvador or Central African nation, yes, it does have that legal tender status there, right? It's been built into your monetary system. It is, let's say, it's neither issued nor guaranteed by any jurisdiction, right? And fulfills the above function. And really what gives it that value, I keep going back, people ask me.
Did you pay the sixth?
Sorry, is Tracy Knowles, can you hear me? I think you're on. Hi, Tracy. Yeah, there you go. Okay, thank you. Anyway, what gives it this value is agreement amongst its users. Okay, it's not getting a value, again, talking about regular cryptocurrency, right? Like a Bitcoin, not getting that value from a government or a jurisdiction. I had mentioned before what distinguishes it, right? You'll hear this term fiat currency, that's brought up all the time. Okay, fiat currency, I put in quotes here, is like real money, right? Real currency, your national currency. It's the coin and paper, basically, you know, in your pocket or in your pocketbook or your wallet. That's fiat. One of the questions sometimes I'll ask before I come to this slide is, well, who issues it, right? Where does it come from? And we must remember, virtual currencies are issued by private developers. Okay, I'm talking about the virtual currencies again, not central bank digital currency. Put that to the side for now. But virtual currencies are issued by private developers. Bitcoin was issued by private developers. Now, one of the other ways I try to explain this, there's two types of virtual currency. Virtual currency, centralized and decentralized. For most of us, I think on the line, our currency, our fiat currency is a centralized currency. It's basically issued by one body, the government or through a Federal Reserve or central bank, right? There are two types of virtual. So we're going to talk about virtual currency, and we're familiar with this concept, right? We have centralized virtual currency and we have decentralized. I assume here that many of us fly, we stay in hotels, maybe we shop or go to certain restaurants that have these reward programs. That is a virtual currency. I don't know if it works in the Caribbean or the Bahamas. Here in the US, McDonald's is my favorite virtual currency right now. It's a centralized virtual currency. I have an app on my phone. I go to McDonald's. I buy a cheeseburger. I get a point. And at a certain point in time, right, I collect enough points. I can exchange those points for maybe a free Big Mac. Right. And I'm not endorsing McDonald's, but I'm using an example. So I go get my free Big Mac, which, you know, is a currency, right? Instead of spending, I don't know what a Big Mac is, $5, $6 for the hamburger, I can use my points. It's a virtual currency, but it's centralized. So what is what does that mean when I say it's centralized? Well, one, we'll say person or body of people, right? They're going to write the rules. So if tomorrow they say, well, Bill, instead of 20 points to get a free Big Mac, now you need 40 points. Right? I have no control over how that is set up. And the same thing with our airlines or hotel points. They're all virtual currencies. And, you know, I could have a lot of call them points, right? Or rewards or whatever it may be. But I can sell that, right? Gamal wants to take a flight. I have some airline miles I'm not going to use. Hey, Gamal, I'll book that flight for you. You give me the $300, whatever that flight ticket, $200, whatever that ticket would be. So as you can see, it's centralized. What is decentralized? Well, we talk about cryptocurrency, we talk about Bitcoin, we're talking about something that's decentralized. There's nobody really, that one person to set the rules. Rules are either set by the community, they're set out in advance. How it's used or where it can be used, that determines again with the community. So it's just two types, and just to give you a visual, right? Because we're gonna talk. You'll hear this decentralized a lot. Where you have centralized, you have that one focal point, right? One person or body of people, whatever we say, is going to make that decision for it. Decentralized, it's not. Now, cryptocurrency is a little different. They're decentralized and distributed. And that's something we have to remember for crypto. Cryptocurrencies use a network of connected nodes or volunteer computers to broadcast transactions and record transactions. The nodes are independent of each other. This means that no one country, business, or person owns the majority of the nodes. Any of you out there today could get onto the Bitcoin network and become a volunteer node, become a computer, right? You can do this. Now, one of the questions to ask on some of these cryptocurrencies is about that community. So you have certain businesses that are either experimenting or establishing these cryptos, but it's still a closed system. They may have issued, and it's a problem. Some of the hacks that have happened. You'll hear me talk a little bit probably later about a 51% rule to make a change. For Bitcoin to make a change right now is going to be very, very difficult because you need 51% of these nodes and computers to agree upon something. There's probably too many of them right now to have that sort of agreement. But when you have a cryptocurrency where maybe you only have 9 nodes, like we saw in a recent hack not too long, sometime last year, when they were able to hack into it and take over 5 of those nodes, well, guess what? They were able to rewrite it, rewrite code, rewrite what was happening to the funds, and that's why the funds wound up in the bad guys' accounts. They drained it out. So very difficult to penetrate and make a change, something like that. I try to do this up front. This one,
yeah, go ahead.
just want to make a little disclaimer here before we go any further here. This presentation is not investment advice. I don't give investment advice. By now, you know who pays me, my company, Blockchain Intelligence Group. And I would suggest the only advice I give you is don't take investment advice from her either, right? No, in all seriousness, people go into these kind of presentations. This is not a presentation about purchasing any one coin. So if you do hear something here today, I am not endorsing it. I'm not suggesting you run out and buy it or sell it. It's not investment advice. This is educational advice. And that was one of the things also drew me to the training that I talked about, the certified cryptocurrency investigator training. As a financial investigator, right? I put my hat on as a financial investigator. I don't care about what Bitcoin is valued today. Is it 23,000 or is it 17,000? That doesn't matter to me, right? What I need to stay focused on is what is it? How does it work? How do bad guys use it? How do I investigate it as a financial investigator? All right, back to the presentation. There's 4 categories of cryptocurrency. Really, for today, we're going to stick with the transactional form, okay? But there's a platform, utility, and application. But today, let's continue. We'll talk about transactional. Excuse me. So transactional cryptocurrencies. This is the category which cryptocurrency, or Bitcoin, was originally intended for. As I said, the most popular of them is Bitcoin. And the intention of this cryptocurrency is to remove the control of a central authority, cutting out the middleman in our day-to-day transactions, bringing down the cost. You will see I guess many of you are with financial institutions. When I'm in person, I kind of throw the question out, how much is a wire transfer that passes through your institution? Usually, I'll get somewhere between what, 15, 20, 30, $35. I had somebody send me money, not much. It costs $15 to send the money in the United States, right? To send me money for something. If I had done that in cryptocurrency, it probably would have been a few pennies, maybe 10 cents to 20 cents. If I had done it with Bitcoin. There's platform currencies. We'll touch upon this possibly a little bit, but we're talking about Ethereum. Okay, anything down Ethereum. This category creates a form that facilitates the operation of other decentralized apps, decentralized applications. Smart contracts, which is a training we'll be coming out with, more on the smart contracts. NFTs, kind of things like that you'll find on Ethereum here. And then there's some utility cryptocurrencies. This is just an example of one. This is helping facilitate storage on decentralized storage on networks that have some space on there. Another one on an application cryptocurrency. What sometimes I won't go into it today. If you want to look at one of these, there's a coin. It's called Fish Coin, and this is where what I try to also do. We hear, and especially in law enforcement, right, or anti-money laundering, we're hearing about the bad all the time. So I guess cryptocurrency is bad, right? There are some examples of utility, and I thought this was an interesting one. But you can Google search, take a look at their video. It's 2-3 minutes long on YouTube called Fishcoin. And basically it is, it's allowing everybody in the seafood supply chain in this community to enter various data. And those data points are helping basically make better sustainable fishing, less waste of food. So it's a very interesting concept that's going on there. See, I have apps. We all heard of our applications, right? We all have those on our phone. And there's something called D apps. When you see this D in front of things, it's decentralized. Okay, so the difference between apps and D apps is that D apps enable users to enjoy more advantages, such as accruing more value to themselves, especially when the dApps have archived mass adoption. And you're seeing more and more. One of the things I see with cryptocurrency, it's allowing people to own and be rewarded for their own data. Right now, what happens to your data? Well, Facebook uses it, or Microsoft, or you name these, Google. They monetize your data. And again, going back to the Fishcoin example, this is allowing people to have control and monetize their own data, right? So as they're sharing their data, they're putting into the system, everybody could get rewarded for it. Excuse me 1 second. I'm just gonna grab a quick drink here. Just a little example. This is the domination you see there of Bitcoin. I won't go into that too much. So Bitcoin, really the birth of Bitcoin, and something to consider if you are an investigator. Many of these coins, tokens, these projects, NFT projects, they start with what's called the white paper. Okay, if you are doing an investigation, you do want to get your hand on these, because sometimes in the white paper, it'll almost tell you that this is a scam, when you start reading through it, or the rules of engagement. And sometimes those rules are you can't cash out for a certain period of time. This is the Bitcoin white paper. It was written by, and again, you can Google search and download this. I believe it's like 14 pages or so, but it'll explain this peer-to-peer digital asset concept. I think for many, when you read the original paper, well, you realize how far away many of these tokens and coins have gotten when you see what's happening today. So who wrote the Bitcoin? Who's the Who created this? Well, it's either somebody, someone, some man, some woman, or maybe it's a group of people. We just don't know. The name Satoshi Nakamoto. Maybe you've heard of this name, Satoshi. A fraction of a Bitcoin is called a stash. Satoshi. I'm sorry, Satoshi. Well, Satoshi Nakamoto is the name used by the presumed pseudonymous person or persons who developed Bitcoin, authored this paper, and created and deployed the original reference. Sometimes when you search for who is Satoshi Nakamoto, there is a picture of a gentleman, I believe he's of Japanese descent, that shows up. I think for a while people thought it was him, so of course his picture's all over the place. There's another person that has gone to court claiming to be the original Satoshi Nakamoto. He's good at taking, some court wins, and making them believe, that he is. And he's also good at taking some court losses and making them believe. But it has not been settled as far as I know today. So that's still out there. But again, we talk about that white paper. We talk about that white paper authored by Satoshi Nakamoto, but we just don't know exactly who that person or persons is right now. As I said before, a white paper is a document that provides information about technology, product, or a service. Most white papers are written in an academic style and focus on providing technical information to prospective investors and users. In Bitcoin case, the white paper is 9 pages, right? Explained how it would work, the problems it would solve. And one of the problems that it talks about in this white paper, which Bitcoin solved, was this double spend problem. Basically the possibility of a user spending the same funds twice. So prior to Bitcoin, it was possible to basically take a digital representation of money and spend it twice. And then Bitcoin has prevented that. It said that the traditional solution has been for a trusted central authority to check transactions. However, this means that it really relies on one entity. So to do this without a central authority, Nakamoto's solution was for transactions to be publicly announced. So all the transactions are publicly announced on this thing called a blockchain. Participants needed a way to record the order of transactions and agree on them. So publishing each block of transactions as they are added to the blockchain would allow distributed Bitcoin nodes to agree on their order and remain synchronized. So all of us on this webinar today, we could be a node. A transaction occurs. We all have to agree. A transaction between myself and Gamal occurs. We all have to agree that I have the money, number one, to send to Gamal, right? And then to credit and debit each side. And this would allow for payments to be sure that the funds they received were not previously spent, as I said. So Bitcoin here was designed as a peer-to-peer value transmission system based on cryptography. I'm just going to try to move this. Okay. Something I try to, well, as I said to you, eliminates the need for a centralized third party, right? Like a Federal Reserve or financial institution. One of the other things, I ask audiences that I speak to try to remember here. Bitcoin isn't good or evil, okay? And it was one of the first things that came out of law enforcement. And as I went to work for blockchain and began to speak to groups or go to events, the first reaction was, well, you're from law enforcement. You don't like this Bitcoin. It's bad, right? That was the reaction. I think many of you may share in that reaction. What we have to remember is that Bitcoin isn't good or evil, right? It's just another format of value transfer. And any of us that are involved in maybe trade-based money laundering investigations, right? Whether that be consumer electronics or appliances, whatever it may be, right? They're not good or bad. It's how it's being used by the person that's using it, right? The criminal element is using it. So just something to remember. Now, that's not to say that somebody may be creating a digital currency or using it for bad purposes. Right? They're using it. They're have to focus on. They're the ones using it for those illicit purposes, not the coin or token itself. The other important thing, if you are beginning a journey into crypto investigations, it is neither, let me back up. What we like to refer to it is as pseudonymous. Okay. Many people, you'll see it in the media, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, it's anonymous, and it's not. It's pseudonymous. The transactions itself are recorded publicly. The wallets are listed that are being used. What is not being recorded publicly is, okay, the name of the person, their address, and personal identifying information. However, with the tools like Clue, with doing blockchain and forensic analytics, what we do is de-anonymize that transaction. We de-anonymize it through, open source intelligence, it going to exchanges, centralized compliant exchanges, and getting information there. And that's something else. I don't know if I bring that up later on. It's something I hear a lot, something to think about if you are, a regulator in the financial institutions. I hear a lot the term unregulated exchange. Okay, an unregulated. There isn't, I want to say there's no such thing as this unregulated exchange. There are compliant exchanges and there are non-compliant exchanges. So think about it in those terms. So if you are any sort of money service business operating in the US, I would guess this is the same thing for Bahamas, but if not, please tell me otherwise. You are regulated, right? You cannot be a money service business in the United States but you fall into some regulation. Either it's the state regulation, is it the feds, is the SEC regulate, OCC, we could debate that another time, but you are regulated. The question is, are you compliant? Are you compliant with those regulations? All right, so that's something to remember as you're investigating something before you may, go to that exchange, or you want to know information about them. You'll want to ask yourself, okay, are they compliant? Are they not compliant? They're not compliant, that may change how you want to approach the investigation there. How do I get it? It's a question I get frequently when I go out and speak to people. How do I get it? Well, you can go to a centralized exchange. And I just throw up some of the names, again, not endorsing any one of these exchanges. It's just because now they're probably household words, right? You all know the Coinbase, the Binance, Netcoins was just. You also go to ATMs. That's another discussion we probably can debate and talk about for quite some time. Love to get your feedback. Please send it to me over LinkedIn, or you can email it to me or Gamal, and I'd love to hear what you think about these ATMs. What do you see? What do you see them being used for? Is there a purpose? From my perspective, when I get a call from either law enforcement or a victim of a scam or a fraud, it usually at the beginning starts out with, I was told to go to a Bitcoin ATM machine at some gas station or some small grocery store or something like that. Love to hear your perspective on it. Please let me know, from your perspective, ATMs, do they have a purpose, a legitimate purpose here? For people, they do have some high fees and whatnot. As I said, the centralized exchanges, they do come with transaction fees. So it doesn't matter if you use Gemini or Coinbase or whatever you're using there, Netcoins. You buy, you sell, you transfer, you pay something. There will be more likely a transaction fee associated with it, and then there's network fees. One of the points, and I have it highlighted here, that just to remember. Bitcoin cryptocurrency, it is a push system. It's irreversible. Okay, unlike bank transfer. If I had to make a transfer to Gamal, I bought something from him, I make a transfer to him, I get something wrong in the instructions. Gamal calls me and says, "Hey, I didn't receive that transfer you told me you sent this morning, Bill." I checked my bank. They said, "Well, yeah, I went to another bank in the Bahamas, not Gamal's bank. Oh, hey, let's stop that transfer. Let's call that back. Hang on a second here." And there's a way to unwind that, right? I get it back, say, okay, we can make everybody happy again. Maybe I got to pay a fee for messing it up or something, but okay. On the most part, if I'm sending Gamal, $25,000 for some service or something, I, want to make sure he gets it. Well, with Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, there is no redo. Okay. When you send it, it's recorded, it's gone. If I'm sending the money to him and I get a digit, I get something wrong in the instructions, I'm probably may not see that again. Okay. One of the recommendations I make anybody that's dealing in Bitcoin, especially if I do have, I don't know, Gamal, if we have any law enforcement with us today or anybody that's in law enforcement that's doing any kind of work, maybe undercover purchases. I used to do that. We made drug buys on the dark web. We'd send them the Bitcoin. Maybe I'd send that person a small amount first, right? So if I was going to buy, say, $1,000 worth of drugs, right? Well, I want to say, hey, I'm going to send you $10 first of the crypto, right? And I want that person to confirm, yeah, I received the $10. Okay, I'll send the rest of the money for the drugs now. Okay, I want to make sure they receive that because it's hard to explain. I lost $1,000 because instead of a number, I wrote a letter in that place, and I'll show you what an address looks like. So just something, if you're dealing in larger amounts, you're unsure, maybe it's the first time you're making a transaction, say this could be legitimate. I usually use an example of the coffee farmer in Colombia, or the cocoa bean, and they have the best beans, right? And I owe them $20,000. I'll say to that farmer, look, I'm going to send you $10 first. You tell me you got the 10, I'll send you the rest. But I just want to make sure that I got everything right on my end here and that you gave it to me right. Blockchain. Look, when you hear blockchain, just think of a public ledger. Okay. That's basically what it is. Okay. You're recording what you want to record in there, the date. And basically the blockchain is recording the date. It's recording a description. The description is how much Bitcoin, how much Ethereum, was this transfer. Date and time is usually recorded there, and that's what you'll get. And then the wallet address, it came from, the transaction that it created, and then where it was sent off to. Again, what is blockchain? It's a type of distributed ledger consisting of blocks of data. Each block is connected to the next block using a cryptographic hash referencing the previous block. Okay. Just another example here. I'll just go through that here. Something we like to say at Blockchain Intelligence Group, the good thing about the blockchain never forgets. So I could take a transaction today, and if I wanted to work it backwards, I will work it all the way to the original creation of Bitcoin. I can work it back to a new Bitcoin. So it never forgets, which is great evidence for law enforcement or other investigators. Cryptography, cryptocurrency are digital assets that are confirmed on a blockchain using cryptography. It's basically been impenetrable. Cryptography hasn't been hacked. The Bitcoin blockchain hasn't been hacked. What's been hacked, when you see these hacks, and I'm not even talking about, when somebody purposely goes out and steals or makes transfers, whatever, that's something different. But we see these hacks that are happening. The hacks are happening because they're not using secure code. They might be using a bridge. There's other reasons why it's happening. Like I said to you before, the 51% rule. So again, to make something, to confirm or to make something changes, 51%. So I can't go in there, and say I've got all this money to send to Gamal. The nodes, right, that we talked about, the volunteer computers are going to see that, and they're going to stop that and say, this doesn't make sense. We can't let this happen. You don't have those funds. Cryptocurrency mining. Just so you're aware of what mining is, some people say this. Basically, the miner is the process of adding transaction records to the Bitcoin public ledger. And when Bitcoin first started, you could do this on your desktop, your laptop, because the mathematical equations weren't as complicated, I guess, as they are today. And when I say they're used by math to solve these transactions, the equation, I give you this example because it's simple, but add a lot of ones and zeros, 5 plus 5. But they don't give you 5 plus 5, they give you 10. And the first person to solve the equation, which could be what? 5 plus 5, 9 plus 1, 5 times 2, 20 divided by 2, right? So forth and so on. First person to get the right answer they have mined that, they've validated that, and they can put it onto the blockchain there. Now, as I said, the mathematical equations are just so large. That's why you have, they call them farms, or you need a lot of computing power to do it. So Bitcoin miners operate computers and Bitcoin software that are part of the transaction validation process. And basically what I just explained to you, the cryptographic problem is transmitted to the miners. Once the first miner solves the problem, it's called proof of work. It's transmitted to other miners to verify, and it's validated by consensus, eliminating that need for the third party. Like I said before, it's permanent and irreversible. Transactions are visible in near real time, and blocks resolve roughly every 10 minutes. And then the transactions are validated in 2 hours. Now, why do somebody go into mining, right? Well, people go into mining because it creates new Bitcoin. So you are rewarded with new Bitcoin. There's also some fees that, that's what miners also going for it. There will only be 21 million Bitcoin created. And then there's a whole process of having the amount of the reward. So that's why you saw this great buildup over the last couple of years in these miners and mining equipment, because they were rewarded with new Bitcoin. I guess in the hopes that Bitcoin would keep increasing. For some, there became a point where it wasn't worth it to go out and purchase new equipment or continue mining. So you might hear of it, and what I want to do is also leave a little time at the end here, so I'll speed things up on a couple of topics. Something you want to know about is hot wallet versus cold wallet. Basically, your hot wallets, they're highly accessible funds. They're connected to the internet, very vulnerable to phishing and hacking. Cold wallets are secure, might be less acceptable. They're not necessarily always connected to the internet. So these could be differences of how you keep your wallets, right? And if you're an investigator out there doing search warrants, certain things you do want to know about wallets. And this is an example I just give when I talk to law enforcement of what a cold wallet is, because as more and more people begin to move off of exchanges, they're moving into these types of devices. So you want to be on the lookout for that if you are conducting a search warrant. I said to you, I would give an example of a Bitcoin address. I did want to do that. So that's a Bitcoin address. And that's why I say, again, at the beginning, I want to make sure I got it right. You gave it to me right. Because if you see that first, you see a 1, you see a capital M, lowercase p, lowercase m, lowercase h. Well, if I was sending Gamal that money for whatever I had purchased from him, and I made that H a capital H, that's a whole new address, and it's not going to Gamal. So that's why I want to send him the $5 or $10 first, because if he says, no, I didn't get anything, we're going to sit down and go through that address one more time and make sure that either I wrote it down right or he gave it to me right. So that's an example of what an address looks like. It also could be done in a QR code. So you're starting to see that show up more and more. However, as more and more QR codes show up in public, we're also identifying more and more scams involving these QR codes. Again, just a little bit more on wallets here. Something I point out, how do I know it's a Bitcoin, right, as opposed to everything else? Bitcoin wallet addresses will always start with a 1, 3, or BC1. I just put that into, again, investigators' minds, because if they're interviewing somebody and maybe they're not telling the truth, this is one of those things you want to know. You want to have one up on that criminal, right, or that suspect. If they start telling you about their Bitcoin wallet, and they think they're fooling you, you'll know better. So what's the big deal? In its current form, it can be more effective than the current financial solutions. It creates trust between two parties. Excuse me. They don't know each other. It works well. Again, for merchants, right? If you are in an area where maybe banking is difficult, the other thing I did a lot trying to understand what the whole black market pesos exchange, how that came about. That just didn't come about from drug dealers. That came about because you had business people who were making money in a place like Colombia, where kidnapping was probably a bigger business than drug trafficking for a while. You know, if you're in the bank, you know, and all of a sudden I'm in the bank and Gamal's my customer. I hate to keep picking on you, Gamal, but I will. You know, I tell my cousin, hey, this guy Gamal, he's doing well. He's got a family. And I'm sure, you know, if we scooped him up for a couple of hours, somebody would pay us to give him back, you know. So, you know, there is that piece to it in some countries that may have an issue like that. I won't go into it too much, the travel rule, but something if you are dealing in crypto to know, it's a FATF recommendation. Basically, it requires both financial institutions and crypto companies to collect personal data on the participants in transactions exceeding basically $1,000 US or euros. Some anti-money laundering considerations. You know, the dark market, dark net. We've probably all heard of the Silk Road case. Things like that, you know, where it's being used. I've also been seeing it, you know, and I'm warning, go out and speak, warn parents, warn people in general. Look, they don't need the dark net anymore, the dark market. They can go onto many of these social media, TikToks, Facebooks, you know, you name it, Snapchat, and they're, you know, using crypto to exchange everything from drugs to child exploitation material to weapons. I won't go into sanctions here. This is just something I set up for something else. But I did want to show you if you are doing investigations. So this is what I said, clue. This is what a chart would look like. The kind of figure 8 you see there on the left side, that's looking at something that went through a mixer, something for another day we could talk about. Or definitely if you're, you know, said my goal is to entertain you, number one, but also to motivate and inspire you. You'll learn more about this in the cryptocurrency investigator course. Just an example of a scam in that red box is another Bitcoin address. This is a scam we see all the time. Somebody gets hold of somebody's Twitter account. So I don't know if they hacked, they made a copy of Elon Musk, great. Hey, you know, send me $1,000. I'll send you back 2,000. You know, and you and I are saying to each other, well, who's going to do that? Well, all these people did it, right? Again, that's now giving it a visual representation of the people that sent money in 30 minutes, hoping to double their money to get it back. And that's broken down some more. And then you keep kind of breaking this down. Again, if you are doing tracking and tracing, any kind of investigation like this, please reach out to Gamal and they'll definitely set you up with a demonstration and then hopefully get this into your hands here to use. So have some other different kind of scams. If you're interested, I can always come back and do something on, on scams and frauds. Last thing I did want to just mention to you when I was talking about the social media being used for distribution of bad things, right? It's not only words that they're using. A lot of them, and now they're using emojis. So if you're a parent out there and your kid has a cell phone, something to be aware of. You know, and I just leave you with this, like just dropped off the packet. I got a nose, a snowman, and a snowflake. I think we all can figure out what that is. So Gamal, for the purpose of time, I don't know if we have any questions in the chat or you want me to stop right now, but I know that was a lot in a little bit. You tell me.
That was very interesting, very comprehensive. I know it's quite difficult to put all of that into an hour. But are there any questions as we prepare to wind down? Are there any questions or points of reference coming from the group? You can go to your mics or you can drop a question in the chat box. I know there is one question that I see already. Will the presentation be available? We'll make a version of the presentation available and also a recording of the event available to participants. So yes, there will be some information available about, from what you would have seen, a presentation and more information about how you can begin your journey if you're so inclined. Another question, can we quickly go over the slides on sanctions and crypto? Bill?
Sanctions, yeah, okay. Sorry, let me get to that real quick here. Thank you for the. Oops. Okay, so sanctions and crypto. Let me know if there's something specific. Again, you have my contact information. Look, we know that North Korea and Iran, now Russia, have been known to use cryptocurrencies to evade sanctions. I mean, this is how North Korea has been actually funding their illegal activities and their weapons program. A little bit about the sanctions here. Let's see here. When the question, was there a specific question to that? I mean, one of the things with sanctions, yes, you have the address, and really when they're sanctioned, it's kind of like, again, they can create new wallet addresses within seconds. So you sanction a wallet address, you sanction the entity. That's the important, I believe, of having a tool like this. So yes, OFAC will come out, or the EU, whoever it will be, and say, okay, this is the address that's sanctioned, this is the entity. Well, at that point, that wallet goes dead, and you create 10, 20, 100 new ones. That's the importance of having a tool that starts to make those connections, that says, okay, well, this is the sanctioned address, but soon after it was sanctioned, these 100 addresses started interacting with it, and those 100 started interacting with these 100. So when we see a sanctioned address come out, I mean, we usually, our research team will have immediately, because they'll know, okay, this is being used by such and such organization. They'll say, yeah, we already have, another 500 wallets associated with them. So that's the sanctions. Now with mixers, like we saw recently, the Tornado Cash mixer, there's mixers, there's tumblers. You can also see, again, what we're doing is also risk scoring, as I mentioned early on, these wallet addresses. So if an address is interacting with Tornado Cash or maybe some other suspect mixer, that's going to raise the risk for that institution to take a look at. We don't tell you, because certain banks take on high risk banking. They do enhanced due diligence. They have mechanisms in place to do that kind of work. We give you that risk score, and then you figure out, or come to agreement, what is your risk appetite? What are you going to take on there? So that's basically the sanction piece I have here, unless there's a specific question to it. Gamal.
No, that was on point. Another question coming in: can a third party regulate or take control of blockchain transactions? That's coming from Dale Knowles.
Can a third party take control of the blockchain? No, I'm going to say that now. When you see, I think that maybe you're asking about taking control of a wallet or a seizure of a wallet. Would that be something that you think? I want to make sure I've got that right.
Is that on point, Mr. Knowles? If you want to, you can chime in. He said yes. Yes, that's good.
Yeah, it's the wallet you're talking about. So no, you've seen many government entities now and law enforcement agencies take control of wallets. All right, if a wallet is sitting at a centralized exchange, it's like it's sitting at a bank, right? I can go in there with my seizure warrant, and I could seize the wallet and seize the contents, or seize the contents of the wallet. What you also have, I showed you some pictures of the cold storage. Cold storage will also show up on a blockchain analytics tool like the one you've seen here. And it's kind of another feature to these tools, and I'm just giving you examples here. We have something called Address Watch. So if I put my Bitcoin, I stole some Bitcoin from Gamal, or a fraud, or whatever it may be, and the investigators trace it, they're going to trace it basically to one of those wallets. And it's kind of it'll just be sitting there. You'll say, okay, what's this sitting there? Well, that's cold. That's probably cold storage, right? It's not sitting in exchange. It's not moving, sitting there. And the bad guys love to do that, right? They think that, okay, I steal from the bank, go rob a bank, and I bury the money in my backyard and I leave it there, right? It's, think about it like that. It's still sitting there buried in the backyard. Well, when that person goes to move that money, we can put like a tag on there, and instantaneously the investigator would get an alert saying, hey, this wallet address that you alerted to us, and we're looking at stuff that could be a couple of years old, it moved. right? They waited a year to move it. And again, now that moves to a centralized exchange. Well, that's probably where you can jump on it or at least get some information on it.
Can we do that without the exchange consent?
Well, if it's sitting at an exchange, it's not I don't know, you say consent, because if you walk in with a seizure order, then they have to hand over what they have unless they've cashed out. Now, then that sometimes happens, right? They go to an exchange and they convert it into the fiat currency. But again, there's going to be information there. So if they say, well, yes, we received the funds this morning, this afternoon, they made a request to transfer the money via wire transfer to, I don't know, HSBC or whatever bank you want to say. Well, great. That's great for the investigator, because now the investigator goes over to the fiat bank, right? And now serves either a subpoena or a seizure warrant on that bank.
Okay, good stuff. Are there any more questions for Bill? Okay, we have gone over a little bit, but certainly some very good information, and I see that we still have a full slate of guests in. So clearly, there's a lot of interest, and so I will again. Are there any questions that you have or any particular interest? We will make this item available. Like I said, the recording and the slideshow will make it available. But seeing that there's still a full house, please feel free to shoot a question or two out while we're still here. I think we can give them a few more minutes. Bill?
Sure, Gamal. And what I would definitely encourage the audience, I know it's an overview. It was a quick hour for you, probably quick hour for me, hopefully for you as well. But if there is something you want to drill down on, please shoot Gamal a topic. We do have my new colleague here at Blockchain Intelligence Group, Tim Cradle, is Director of Regulatory Affairs. So if you have more questions, he's better at handling those regulatory issues, looking down the road, what's happening in certain countries. So definitely we would get Tim on. If you have law enforcement questions, if you're interested in doing a presentation on the different fraud and scams, what to look out for, which is something I write about a lot on LinkedIn. Again, please connect or follow me there. Please let Gamal know what are the issues that you are seeing there, and we'll work with Gamal and come up with try to come up with some solutions how either the tools or the training that we offer can help you with those issues you're seeing.
Okay. All right, folks. Well, again, I want to thank everyone for coming on and taking part in this session. The Certified Cryptocurrency Investigator course is available via blockchain and preventative measures here in the Bahamas. I know we do have some persons who are coming from out of the Bahamas. I saw someone in earlier coming all the way out of Indonesia. So it's a pretty that's pretty encouraging, and certainly the interest is obviously global for this still relatively new terrain for us as investigators, as financial experts, as compliance officers, as legal experts. So we want to certainly get as much knowledge and information on how to battle and fight against nefarious activities around the world. So Bill, again, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking time out. Certainly, like you indicated, if there are any specific questions, I dropped my email in the group, in the chat, and certainly Bill is available via LinkedIn. I'm also on LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out to any one of us if you have questions or how you want to continue your program. Also take advantage of the discount. It's if you decide to sign up, it's 10 Gamal. If you want to dive right into the cryptocurrency investigator program offered by Blockchain Intelligence Group. So with that said, thank you very much, folks. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. For Bill, stay warm. For us here, we'll stay cool.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Everybody enjoy and have a good day.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Okay.